You're tuned into The Collective Voice, thought-provoking interviews co-hosted by young adults, fostering deep faith through courageous questions. Welcome to the conversation. Greetings, everyone. Welcome to The Collective Voice. I'm Reverend Phil Dieke. I'm grateful to be here with you once again. And guess what? We have another Lutheran with us. It's Lutherans all the time on The Collective Voice. This is the season of Lutherans. So partially because we have the beloved Cecie with us too. So Cecie, once again, welcome back. Thanks for being with us.
Glad to be here. The Lutheran hat.
That's right.
It was just too much UMC up in this place, so we decided to hire a Lutheran to the Presbyterian Seminary.
That's right. No, shout out PCUSA. That we did have a PCUSA on last time, so like
we did.
We're
bonus points for us.
Yeah.
But I'm really excited today to have with us my friend Samantha Johnson. Right now, she's the director of camps. Is that right?
Yes, director of family camp and day camp
at Green Lake Bible Camp.
Yes, Water's Edge Ministries is the overall organization, and we have multiple sites, and my site is Green Lake Bible Camp. So you were technically right.
I was almost there.
It's a mouthful, really.
But more than that,
in addition to
that, sure, Sam is a dear friend of mine and my original Gather mentor.
That's right.
Back in the fall of 2022, when Sam was one of the co-chairs of the Gather Network within ELCA Young Adults, she was paired with me as I was founding Gather Austin. And through that, she's become a good friend. And then now she is the Gather Network chair. So she wears many hats, one of them being Camp World, one of them being Gather World, one of them being Cecie's Friend World, and then other hats like that too. So Sam, we're so glad to have you here. Is there anything I missed that you'd like to say as an introduction?
Thanks for having me. Well, I also lead Gather Twin Cities up here in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul area as well. So
should we just take a minute and reflect on that? How are you? How are things? I know things are not good, but they're getting better, it seems like.
Sure.
At least
from
the media.
Asking.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, thanks for naming that, because, the media says Operation Metro Surge is coming to a close, and we're like, we'll believe it when we see it. Like, people are still out on patrol and making sure that folks are feeling safe in their homes and getting to school safely. The amount of signal chats that I receive in the last couple of days has decreased, which is a good sign, but it won't be over until the last agent is out and kids can go back to school and families can go back to work and feel safe taking their dog for a walk. So
let's just stay here for a minute, because I had us breathe before we started, because I always feel like it's good to center before we just do a podcast in general. But I feel like whenever you're constantly surrounded by this kind of, is frenetic the right word? I don't know, like this, the tension of all of this. Can we just start by what are you doing to help stay grounded, centered, sane? What's been keeping you together in the midst of all of this?
Yeah. I think a good reminder for myself is that, from the beginning, it's been like, don't burn yourself out too fast, because this is the long game. And so, a couple ways that I've been engaged in my community is doing some school supervision in the morning and possibly in the afternoon if my schedule allows, and allowing students in a neighborhood school of mine just feeling welcomed and being able to get into school from their car or their parents' car safely in that neighborhood. And so the reminder that if we all do one thing in this city, that's more than enough. And yesterday, Gather Twin Cities, our event, was going to a night songs concert at a local church where the church choir and Augsburg University's a cappella group just sang some songs based around celestial and night and stars and outer space. And I was moved to tears so many times just to be reminded that, gosh, we are so small. And things that people decide to hold power over is so pathetic sometimes. And the ways that we get to love in such a small space within this entire universe is just, it humbles and brings me to tears knowing that like there's so much more to love than to hate. So those are a couple ways, live music and doing one thing at a time.
And music's a bit of a thread, I know, in your life, right? Like I picture summer camp, which not just at Green Lake and not just through, is it Water's Edge? Am I getting that?
Good job.
Right?
Yes.
Like, but I feel like perhaps when we met, you were at Rainbow Trail or had been connected to Rainbow Trail out in Colorado Springs or that area, right?
Yeah, I was living in Colorado Springs and I was actually a music teacher in the public schools, and my roommates were the program directors at Rainbow Trail Lutheran Camp, and so they would contract me to lead worship for their women's retreats and confirmation retreats and senior high retreats. So yeah, worship leading and also just engaging children in finding their voice and building community through music is my life vocation, I guess. So.
And can you share a little bit more about, like, well, one, I want to notice from music teacher to now working at a camp, and I don't know if there are steps in between, right? And then in this period of time that our country happens to be in, you choosing to serve in your neighborhood by helping kids get to school, right? Where there could have been Sam Johnson being their music teacher. So I just see that as a really interesting little thread. But can you share some more about like music in your life, music in your personal faith formation, and your role as one of the co-leaders at Gather Twin Cities?
Run it all together.
big ones over here. Apologies.
No, that's okay. There's no generational line of musicality in my family. It really was started by my mom putting me in piano lessons when I was in first grade, and also listening to really good music in the car, good like rock and roll and 90s country and Fleetwood Mac, and listening to bands with good harmonies. So that's where it's all started, honestly. But I was a music teacher for a handful of years. Yeah. And then I also worked at camp when I was in college. I worked at Sugar Creek Bible Camp in Fairville, Wisconsin, and knew that camp was a place where I was going to be able to practice community building amongst trusted adults and youth. And it paid off. And it was such a good experience that I did it literally every summer in between until I got my first teaching job. And I think like getting into my first years as a teacher, still longing for that community, because I had a really great experience with friendships and deep relationships working at camp. And, Gather really didn't start until a handful of years into me being a teacher, but there was still that longing for that next step, or what is that next community that I get to experience beyond the church that I was a part of. There was little opportunities for young adult community there, but it was us volunteering in the youth room or volunteering in Sunday school or family faith night. And so there was that opportunity. And then I moved to Colorado because I was like, YOLO, I'm going to do it. I want to go explore the mountains. And after the pandemic, like a couple of years into it, when people started to feel a little bit more comfortable getting out again, and ELCA Young Adults had done an Abide online community space, and I was lucky enough to be a part of that too and be a small group leader virtually. And we were like, okay, what's that next thing that we could do beyond Abide? Start getting connected in real time. And Gather Twin Cities had been doing that model already pre-pandemic. And some folks in Cincinnati was like, I want to model a community like that. And then us in Colorado Springs, we said, okay, well, we want to do the same, because if it's all working and we have the capacity to lead that, let's try. And so we created Gather Pikes Peak and had really good support from some congregations in the area right off the bat, and had just an opportunity to really get together and build the plane as we were flying it. We were doing faith formation, but also just socializing sometimes. And that was all it took. It was all it needed. Okay, I think I threaded it all together.
You
How
threaded
did I
it.
do?
You threaded it. And for those of our listeners that are like, Gather Pikes Peak, Gather Pikes Peak, that sounds familiar. You remember Owen Copps, who we interviewed just a couple weeks ago,
Yeah.
was connected to Gather Pikes Peak and Sam's co-leader before life brought him down here to Austin for seminary. And then before that to Telluride for his time there. Yeah, cool.
So I'm going to keep playing this music thread for a second here because
Okay.
I just recently preached in a Lutheran church for my first time. And it was on because of my association with Texas Impact, which is an interfaith advocacy organization in Texas. So that's probably why we got this. But in the service, the music that they picked, these were some of the hymns that we sang.
Okay.
Let streams of living justice. Let streams
Wait.
Okay,
so good.
Right? Like, we're not done. Hold on. Literally after the service, I went to the pastor and I was like, I don't think we have these kind of songs in the United Methodist Church. So, goodness is stronger than evil. Y'all know that one? We ended on, look, I literally saved my bullets and like I'm going through my bullets right. Christ be our light, which, is not like a total justice kind of mentality, but for the confession,
my dad's favorite hymn.
Is great. It was a great way to end a service. It's beautiful. But for the confession and forgiveness, we sang "We Will Walk the Same Ground," which is what they've been singing in Minneapolis, right? And like, apparently, the pastor afterward told me that the accompanist just like created the melody for it, like that she kind of created her own thing to make it easier for the congregation to sing. But so basically, I'm going to just read the piece here. It says, "We walk the same ground, but we've been torn apart. Put down your," in each verse is a different thing here, right? Either weapons, hatred, anger, egos, armor. Come sing your part. Come sing your part. So here's another thread for you. Music and justice.
Yeah.
And I think just in general, right? Like the more I'm getting to know the ELCA, like justice plays a huge role in your denomination, it seems, from my perspective so far. Will you bridge those two for us there? What is the role of justice in the life that you live, and how, whether that is a music piece or not, but just what's the role of justice for you?
Okay, so when I went to university, I actually got connected with a non-denominational campus ministry rather than Lutheran campus ministry. And that was the first experience for me being engaged in like a contemporary Christian worship space. And I really deeply connected with that kind of music and spiritual involvement because it involved body, it involved harmonies, it involved guitar and piano and drums and lights too. Honestly, it was very attractive.
Smoke machines? Did they have smoke machines?
No smoke machines.
I did one of those churches for a while.
Maybe there was.
Yeah,
that really wouldn't have. That would have been the university tech team, like adding those ambiance things. And then I would go to, and also the theology was different than what I was raised. And so at first I was like, this is a little different than maybe I was raised, but what they're saying makes sense, is what my mind was saying. And then I would go work at an ELCA Bible camp where a lot of my friends who maybe go to a liberal arts or a private Luther college would engage me in conversation in a really graceful and positive way about a way that they perceive justice or interpretation. And I wrestled with those. And I would say like, in a privileged way, I got to like wrestle with some of that. And as I was kind of making marks in what I do believe and what I don't believe, and realizing that maybe that isn't like the best place for me, that non-denominational campus ministry, then from there, I wrestled with, okay, how do I honor that this worship style is how I meet the Holy Spirit, but the theology of where folks use that worship style has been hurtful to a lot of other folks, especially those that I work with at camp or those that I'm in deep relationship with in roommate settings or family or just friendships or family, whatever. And so I've wrestled with that even to this day as I lead Gather Twin Cities or I've led worship spaces at camp. And I have been stretched out of my comfort zone, and also recognizing that there's like beauty in these hymns and this poetry connected, even if maybe like it's not a way that I connect with God most intimately, but there's other people that I'm leading and guiding in worship that are going to feel the Spirit within that. And then there's another layer of like secular music where people are experiencing the divine in secular music too.
What?
Yes.
Blasphemous.
God is only in a church, Sam.
That's right. And only in 1800 and previous hymns.
That's right. Martin Luther would beg to differ a little bit. No. And so I like the first time that I used a secular music song was at Rainbow Trail when I was leading a senior high retreat, and we used the song Crowded Table by the High Women. And for me, I'm like, of course this is
such a good
spiritual
song.
Indeed.
Yeah.
We're building a crowded table for people to belong, and isn't that what the kingdom of God is supposed to look like? And so for me, that was another just like really great learning moment in my faith and in my journey as a worship leader. And so like, yeah, how do I connect that to justice? Like recognizing that people are experiencing the divine, the way that the divine shows up for them. And it's my responsibility to be receptive of that as a leader, and making spaces where all people get to feel the Holy Spirit and connect to God. I hope that answered your question.
It's lovely. It's lovely.
Yeah, it's just so beautiful. And in Third Space Ministry, right? Like Gather Austin is a part of the Gather Network, and we are all a third space because it's different. It's not just in a congregation. It's not just out in the community. It's kind of its own behemoth. I think the thing I love so very much about the Gather Network is it's willing to say, where are we going? Like, where's the Spirit leading us? Not, this is how we've always done it, but we're going to have a spirit of innovation. We're going to have a spirit of creativity. And it gives a lot of hope to see that happening, right? Like, to know that what you are doing with Gather Twin Cities, Rainbow Trail, Gather Pikes Peak, Green Lake, Level Camp, I can't remember all them.
Got them all.
Check. It's through that spirit of creativity, and that's the spirit of God.
Mm-hmm.
What are other ways that you see that made manifest in your work, in your ministry, right? Like Sam is one of our people on this podcast that like is so very intimately tied to the church, and you're not ordained. Like you are a lay leader, deeply faithful, which often I would say like some of my members of the congregation I serve is like, these people have more faith than I do. Like being ordained doesn't mean anything in terms of your faithfulness. So yeah, Sam, like where's the Spirit alive in your work and your ministry right now in other ways?
Sure. Well, one thing that came to my mind that I kind of forgot to mention just in this season of Minneapolis is that singing resistance has been really popular and growing. And you may have been able to see some of that through social media, but singing circles like that have been really popular around here for years before this has ever started. And the folks that have been leading those circles every Wednesday evening have been part of that collective invitation in the last couple of months for people to sing and know that there has to be joy in resistance. Otherwise, it's not going to work. And so a lot of the songs that people have been writing for singing resistance have been used all over the world in the last couple of months, which is so beautiful. And these singing groups, if it happens to be 40 below and people don't want to sing outside, we've been meeting actually in like worship spaces across the Minneapolis because just the invitation of capacity, thousands of people can gather in these places of worship, which is a beautiful, safe step for people to come in to those churches. And also not one song is talking about God in those. It's talking about meeting our neighbors and knowing and creating hope for our neighbors and creating hope for ourselves and grieving together. Like I went to one of those singing circles the day that Alex Preddy was killed, and we weren't anticipating that was going to be a grieving space that was so deep in that moment. But thousands of people grieving together through secular music or poetry that someone put to a melody that morning was so beautiful. So that's one
I have
thing.
chills.
Yeah. Oh.
And at a clergy retreat down at the beach in the Texas Gulf Coast, we did a evening meditation worship, and we sang "Hold On," which is being sung in those resistance.
Yeah.
And then it's taken from a poem. Everyone, oh everyone, oh everyone of these people are ours or are yours. We belong to them, and they belong to us.
Yes.
And it goes in rounds, and the amount of beauty and harmony and round, like, was so, like, I was just sobbing, so deeply moving and interconnected, right? Like that we on the Texas coast felt this spiritual connection to what's going on with our siblings in the Twin Cities. So I love that you're a part of those. I interrupted you.
Chills on the back of my head.
I mean, there's nothing more theological than that, though, right? Like, what you're saying is secular. That's what and I know you're using that term loosely, right? Like that,
of course.
That, and yet there's so many who get still caught up on that, right? That there's still a stumbling block for those who find themselves in the church because the name of God isn't listed, or like because it's not so overt. I'm finding deep resonance in such a profound witness of how, like, this is what it means to be church, though, right? Like, this is theology. This is not just theology. This is ecclesiology. Like, there's so many ways that the church is showing up now more boldly and courageously than, it has had the opportunity to. Well, there's been opportunities to. We just haven't always stepped forward into. But I think it's just wildly theologically profound.
Yeah.
There's not a question there. That's just a statement. I want to go back to what you said about this disconnect sometimes, though, between, this is something that we were struggling with when I was in college, which was a little bit before y'all. Cece's laughing.
You say you're old, Phil?
I'm saying I'm old. There was a lot bit before y'all. But the same thing, right? Like, there were a lot of us then who were very much finding a connection with spirit in a space that was very much around kind of a modern, contemporary kind of Christian music setting. And the more I studied religion, the more and then eventually went to seminary, like, why is there such a disconnect between this format of singing and worship versus the theological framework that ends up taking place in that? And why has nobody solved this? Like, Sam, why?
Seriously.
I need you to solve this for me, because it still drives me bonkers. And, like, don't get me wrong, I love a good hymn here and there too, right? Like, I love a full choir. I love there's aspects of me that love all the different pieces of it, depending on kind of what mood I'm in. But, like, why? Just why?
I know. Well, and the thing that I always love to bring up is that Martin Luther literally used melodies from the pub because those were accessible to people at the time. And then they're like, oh, if this is a German melody, then I can learn it in my language. And then, like, add words that are faithful, and we can call it good and sing those in at church on Sundays. That's awesome. And there's I think, something to be said that contemporary Christian music really isn't that deep. The words are not that challenging, and bridges repeat for 8 minutes on purpose. Some purpose that can be like, okay, I know what you're trying to do here. Like, I know that the drums growing is really trying to move me, but also, could it be also just a prayer that I repeat this line for a couple of minutes and feel it and see how it resonates with me in my life? And, like, some hymns, maybe the melody is just a little too complicated, or my dad doesn't know how to sing the tenor line or the alto line, but Preach. I know, and so
guilty.
Yeah. Or this tune was clearly written for a man's voice, and this is way too damn high for me, and I don't want to sing it. So all of those arguments, I think, are totally valid, and people can, make their counter arguments in the comments. But
leave your comment below. You can find Samantha Johnson at. Just kidding.
They're gonna grill me. I just know it. One time I saw like something on Instagram that was like, and this has totally happened to me. I've been at a Head in the Heart concert and my hands have gone up in praise. And I'm like, do I just like live music or, but that might be for some, but
One of the most transcendent experiences I've had in worship, probably in the last 10 or 15 years, was at an Avett Brothers concert at Red Rocks,
yes.
right?
Yes.
I mean,
that sounds
just
heavenly.
It was, right? There was like a storm off in the distance behind, where the stage is, like basically over downtown Denver. And like, yeah, it was just one of those things where like, you can't even make the stuff up that all this is happening all at one time. And people just singing at the top of their lungs. And I say transcendent because I think that's what it is, right? There's a collective oneness that takes place through music. And I think that even, I think to the quantum level, right, that we recognize that when vibrations all happen at the same time, in the same way, in the frequency, like something happens there that is beyond ourselves.
Yeah, that's so good.
Call it spirit, call it like all those things, right? Go ahead.
Yeah, and even like the connection to breath, like as you sing, your breath sync up, right? And you actually have that experience of breathing together. And I remember that being so hard during the pandemic. And like I am a ordained pastor, and let me tell you, I barely worshiped during the pandemic because I felt like it was watching, not worshiping. And my second year of seminary, like my husband and I would sing pre-recorded that my then pastor supervisor would like knit together, and the live, not even live, like pre-recorded worship. And that was great because Mike and I were singing, but it was one of the greatest things that I missed in that time. And similarly, Felix, but not as transcendent, like that moment in a concert where like every single person is singing right next to you. I was at Mumford & Sons in Austin, and like band based in harmony, band based with like the beautiful string instruments. And finally, I Will Wait comes on, and the people, I'm singing every song because I just love Mumford & Sons. Shout out!
It's one of my lists that I'm like, how have I not been to a Mumford concert yet? Anyway.
Amazing.
Yeah.
But I Will Wait comes on and everyone loses their minds. And it's just, and I'm going to go there, right? Because I'm from Texas, but it's the same thing I would feel at my university's football games, right? Like the sense of belonging.
That did not go the direction I thought it was going to go.
Oh,
I'm with you. I'm with you.
And I was running through UT campus, and I went to Texas A&M, so I'm an Aggie, running through UT Austin's campus because it's very close to the seminary. And I'm like, wow, I feel so like strong watching all of these like PR bits go past me. Like, what starts here changes the world. I'm inspired, UT. I'm not a Longhorn. I'm the complete opposite. But you know what I mean? Like that sense of belonging does transcend. And I think, at least in my experience, like people are hungry for it. And when you don't feel it in the church, when you don't feel it in a place you're supposed to, or you used to.
Cece used air quotes though for all users listening online and not watching.
Right. Supposed to, air quote. It sucks. Like it hurts. And there's that dissonance like you experienced in a place that the worship was where you met the Holy Spirit, but the theology you couldn't get behind. And probably vice versa, of the worship, like theology maybe of a Lutheran congregation, or it's preaching, it's teaching, but maybe not the worship. And I don't know, that's what I love about Gather, I'll say, like shameless plugs. And I think maybe that's where you potentially also find some relief, like being a young adult and searching for that. But I also wanted to loop that in too.
Yeah, I remember the first time that I was asked as a worship leader to even play around with pronouns for God in a song. And I was like, okay, yeah, let's do it. And I think it was like, it wasn't because that it was something that I wasn't going to agree with. It was more like, well, what if someone in here doesn't agree and then they don't like it and they don't come back? But the reminder that like there's going to be one person in here who really appreciated that, and they for sure felt safe and seen and validated in this space. So that was another space where young adult ministry was like, okay, Sam, here's your stretch growth, here's your stretch opportunity.
Do it. One time, my husband and I were at worship, and this is my father's world. And like, let me be the one. Your girl loves hymns. She loves traditional liturgy. Like, love it. Give me those old things. And so does my husband. Who's his favorite composer? It's J.S. Bach, of course.
Yes.
But we're sitting in worship, standing next to each other. This is my father's world comes on. So beautiful. He sings, this is my mother's world, and starts using she pronouns. And I'm sobbing, right? Because to like out of a voice that I love and sing so beautifully, to hear not fathers but mothers or creators and she and her world. Right, like I get chills right now. But we did that, and I had a parishioner get mad at me, and I was like, but you have no idea of what this could mean for someone, right? And I told that story because stories do break things down differently, but playing around, it's risky, it's vulnerable, but it can also mean being seen in a way that nothing else can make you be seen, right?
Yeah, and I'll echo another story that I did. The song "How He Loves," we changed it to "How She Loves."
I was just thinking of David Crowder yesterday. Like, where's that guy now? Which I don't know if I want to know, but
I love that song. Let me just say.
Yeah.
Which I know he redid it from the anyway. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Are we team Sloppy Wet or are we team? What's the other one? I don't even remember because I'm team Sloppy Wet.
I will always be that because I was a mad David Crowder fan for so long.
What are we talking about? Oh, Sloppy Wet Kiss. Okay.
There you go. Thank you for clarifying, Cece. It's probably really good that we clarified that.
Yeah. Also team Sloppy Wet Kiss, I will say.
Oh, that's so good. But anyway, so I changed the lyrics. This was at church. I was helping with worship ministry at church, and someone from the men's group sent me an email the next day and was like, this is actually against licensure and we could have our license revoked. And I was like, are you going to call CCLI at me? And if anyone from CCLI is listening, sorry. And I don't do it as often anymore with the licensing because I know it is very important. But in unlicensed ways, I will.
Okay. Yeah. If that's what they're going to start getting up in arms about, then again, that we have bigger issues in the.
Yes. And that's where I was like, okay, well, let's have a conversation about this, not via email.
I love that. I love that response though, right? Because there's it causes tension and it caused a challenge for somebody, right? Like that maybe has not ever had their theology pushed in that way. But it provided an opportunity for relationality for you too, right? Like there was an invitation there of not just hey, we did this, get over it, but there's a way to teach it. And what I love so much about it is, let me just shout out for our older white men out here, right? Often we're the ones that need to have that pushed space. And so usually it comes in our podcast around this time that we ask our young adult to be the token and speak on behalf of all young adults. But what is speak for all young adults here in the midst of pushing some of those old bounds that have been set for so long. And I mean, why do it? What's the opportunity there? And how far is too far for you? Where are the spaces that you've seen been able to push, but where you're like, maybe I'm not ready to go there?
I just feel like it stems from growing up as a millennial where we have always been changing and evolving. And I get that there are other generations out there who didn't have to evolve as fast and change as fast. And so I think there is a part where I'm like, okay, I can meet you in the middle on some of these things and have relationship and have conversation. But we have a lot of catching up to do with some, I say, we have a lot of catching up to do because God keeps moving and keeps loving with or without us understanding. And there are a lot of people out there who have been hurt by systems, not by their creator, and what's our invitation to make space for folks to feel the divine and to feel a relationship with their creator, and just get us out of the way. Get out of the way, people.
Say it again for the people in the back. Harmed by
Get
the
out
systems.
of the way.
Too, but harmed by the systems, not by their creator. Get out of the way.
I hope you're clipping that for social media, Phil, because I'm writing
just clipped it.
Dang, Sam.
Oh,
well done. All young adults are proud. You represented well.
wow, thank you. I'm sweating.
Golf claps. And to circle it back, right? You said God keeps moving and keeps loving beyond our understanding, right? The people out there that are like, what is happening? This resistance, these riots, these bad people.
These paid protesters.
No. Babe, how much you getting paid, Sam?
Sorry.
But like, that's beyond our understanding. It might be, but that's where God's love is. And I'm gonna take that the next time someone's like, well, what's happening? And it's just so awful. I'm like, no, this is just like God being ahead of where you are. Maybe I'd say it more kindly, like where we are.
Or what is the Spirit leading us in a direction that, you've never really considered before, And if that's a problem for you, then maybe we should have a little conversation on not epistemology, on pneumatology, right? And maybe epistemology too. But like that, I would hope that the Spirit continues to push us beyond the bounds that we've always known, right? Otherwise, what are we doing here? I'll pull the John Wesley card, right? John Wesley say you refer to Martin Luther. I'm going to pull in my boy John Wesley.
Do it.
I'm going to probably butcher. No, I don't think I'm butcher. It's basically if you're not evolving, you're dying. That's what he said, and it was a theological reference, right? That if you're not always growing in your understanding of who God is, then your faith is dying. There is no stagnation when it comes to faith. You're either progressing or you're dying. And that is my own summation there. But don't come after me, you United Methodist people in the comments too, right? I know I didn't get it exactly right, but yeah, I think there's something to that too, though, right?
Yeah, and I also, to be clear, I don't. I've lived a life of evolving and changing in technology and in education and all these things, but it doesn't mean that I'm good at it. It's hard. It's hard to evolve, and it's hard to be humbled and to be challenged in your ways and your thinking, because it feels like I'm an Enneagram 3. I know Cecie's an Enneagram 3 too, so shout out. But there's
a lot of energy in here for this little 9 self here.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. So the moment that I'm challenged by something, it feels like I'm being stabbed, because I don't want to be humiliated by something that I thought was always the right way to do something or the right thing to say. And then I have to go crawl in my hole and check my own ego and come back and be okay, I'm going to try this and I'm going to fail. And thank you for your grace. And the Enneagram 3 in me is why can't we all just try a little harder?
We can, and also it's okay to take a nap too,
Oh, rest is holy. Yes.
Yeah. And I'll say that's what Phil, your point of if you're not evolving, you're dying, through John Calvin.
Okay. Get it, Calvin, out of here.
Anyways, Wesley, I don't know.
John Wesley, hello.
We're Lutheran, so it's way easier, right? Lutheran.
I went to a Wesleyan youth group my senior year of high school.
I would know. They're Wesleyan, so they follow Wesley. Calvinists, let them name you Methodist. Anyways.
Look, here's your Methodist history. The reason they are called Methodists is because people made fun of them because they were so methodical. They literally had a group called the Holiness Club, and people made fun of them because they were so methodical in their Holiness Club. So now
honestly,
when you think of, I kid you not.
Sounds like it was worth it. They needed to be made fun of in that way with their Holiness Club.
Worked, apparently, somehow.
Sorry, UMC people. But going back somehow to this point of Sam, you saying I had to go in my hole and check my ego, Lord knows. Same with me. And yet when I open myself up to the movement of the Holy Spirit that is beyond anything I could comprehend, right? Because that's God. It's anything better than, it's everything better than what I could have in my little feeble
Amen.
mind
Yeah.
been able to comprehend. So the amount of times God has me check my ego is needed and is important. And you said, right, like lightly embarrassing and humiliating. But it's how I get back into that pathway of evolution, how I like follow after that spirit that's moving and loving beyond our understanding. Like now a quote on my laptop. And as we're kind of getting towards the end of our time, I would love to just hear, we've gone so many different directions in this conversation, better than, I could have anticipated when I invited someone I look up to and like the mentor who helped me in a really critical time for the formation of Gather Austin. But where are those dreams for young adult ministry in the ELCA, right? In this growing Gather network, which you get to be a steward of, not just the steward of, a steward of. How do you see God's movement and love in those spaces?
The young adults that I get to be with, the leaders of Gather communities across the country, bring so much hope and positivity and insight that I could not create alone, certainly could not create on my own as the Gather chair. And the ways that these young adults commit to showing up to these leader conversations in their car because they're driving home from work, from their teaching jobs or their engineering jobs or their IT jobs or their pastoral jobs or their CYF jobs or their camp jobs. To me, that shows like there is such a hopefulness and an eagerness for their voices to be collectively shared together, and an eagerness to learn. Like we're talking about invitational discipleship and intersectionality and all these different ways that we can be better stewards of our Gather communities and in our regions across the United States. And in a way in which we're like often challenged by people in the church are like, well, why don't you just become a church? Like if Gather is so cool, why don't you just make it a church? And it's like, no, we're intentionally doing this with a mission to not become a church. How risky is that? How cool is that? How challenging and innovative is that?
It's really countercultural.
Like it's like deep, but also it's not that deep at the same time. Like I want to say that, oh my gosh, this is so deep. This content and these young adults that get together is so deep. But then when I bring it to like other faith leaders to tell the story about Gather and they ask me all these like business questions, I'm like, you guys, it's not that deep at the same time. And so, just like any other person, in an older generation who gets to get together with their peers on Thursday mornings because they're all retired and they get to have that generational community. Young adults crave that too. And so do our youth and so do our families, our working non-young adults, but who are not quite there to be able to meet on Thursday mornings. Everyone's craving that generational community. And thank God that church gets to be the place where we have intergenerational connection.
Well said. Well said. We're in a season of Lent. We're entering the season of Lent when we're recording here, but when people hear this, it's going to be the season of Lent. Would love to know, what does a Lenten practice look like for you this year? Do you have a regular practice you do every time Lent rolls around, or is this something unique that's happening with you this year, if anything at all?
Thank you for asking. Since I've moved to Minneapolis, I have been church shopping, and that's been for a whole year, which can seem kind of silly because we're in the mecca of Lutheran spaces, but my list of non-negotiables in finding a faith community has been kind of challenged. And part of that is the music thing, to be honest. But I think I have finally found a faith home, which is really exciting. And that will include Wednesday night meals and service. I hope that it's Holden evening prayer, because I love a good Holden evening prayer during Lent, because it is meditative and ritual. The melodies are just gorgeous and attainable for any person. And, you know, I think there is a little bit of piece of that, like, what is something that I can give up, or what is something that I challenge to fast from? And I think it kind of started a little early this year, to be honest, with giving up my evening routine or even my morning routine to make sure that my neighbors feel safe. And I think that that's probably going to continue into the Lent season. And so if that means getting up a little early to be a welcomer and a greeter at my local school, then that's my very small sacrifice compared to a neighbor who is choosing to have their kids stay home and do a hybrid learning model because they're scared to go outside. So, yeah.
That's beautiful.
What about you?
Oh, I was afraid you were going to ask that question back. I've typically been in the realm of adding things in Lent. I don't always fast from things. So I usually will add some sort of practice. And back during Advent, I added centering prayer back to my life because I used to do that back in the day and kind of got away from it. And I've continued doing centering prayer. So I can't do that because I'm already doing it. I think I'm going to add the practice of writing. I follow a couple different poets who write just like a daily poem. And I don't know if I'm going to do a poem a day or not, but I'm going to really commit to writing throughout Lent as a form of, in some ways it's a fasting because you're fasting other things that you could be doing to making space to write.
That's right.
And so, yeah, writing's going to be my Lenten practices. I just made that decision right now. So thank you for putting me on the spot.
Absolutely.
What about you, Cece? Do you have one?
Gosh, now I have to answer. I've been kicking around the idea of fasting from social media for Lent because I have so many friends that are doing it right now. And I think that it might be better for my mental well-being. I would have to check with my Gather leaders to make sure that they could handle the Gather social media because, I mean, last year it was my personal, the churches and Gathers, but I also think I need to find what I want to do service-wise. I got to a place in the congregation where I just was kind of itchy about the fact that like all I was doing was talking about faith and writing about faith and like facilitating faith, and I wasn't actually doing anything to serve my neighbor. So I began volunteering in a crisis ministry near the congregation, but that's now an hour away. So I think I'm gonna try in Lent. The church that we're knocking around calling home they do shifts at our Austin City Lutherans Daily Bread Food Pantry, and I think I want to start doing that to actually like not just overthink and overdo, but like just act right for the benefit of my neighbors.
That's good. I heard someone once say that a yes to one thing is a no to anything else or something else. So even if you're adding something, that means you're saying no to something probably unproductive or whatever.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
And fill up the slippery slope. You start doing a poem a day. I started writing a haiku a day in summer 23 and I still do it.
Do you really? Oh, I didn't know that about you. Look, that's so fun.
I am very disciplined. I write my journal every night and I have since 2018.
That's a crazy two-truth and a lie. A haiku a day.
Keeps the what away?
Some days they're really bad.
I mean, I think that's really impressive, though. Oh, that's inspiring me. That's good. I'm gonna the one that I found this past year. Get yourself a nice
pen. Get yourself a good journal.
Oh my gosh, you and your pens. Cece's obsessed with a good pen. Rosemary Watula Traumer is somebody that I found this past year who writes a poem a day, and I get those in my inbox every day. And like that's like my morning routine is I get up and I read my Rosemary poem. Anyway, fun times. Fun times. Sam, thank you so much. This has just been a delight. And we're so grateful for all that you do in the world, on behalf of the church, on behalf of Third Space Ministries, but ultimately on behalf of just the goodness of creation. Like, you're doing a lot of really cool things, and thank you for bringing joy to the world through song and allowing us to converse about music and how that's impacting us and bringing, again, joy. I'm really grateful for that. So blessings to you on your ongoing ministry and all you're doing in Twin Cities, and just know that we continue to hold you all and lift you up in the midst of that too.
So great to be with us, Sam.
Thanks for having me.
If you're in the Twin Cities area, go find Sam at Gather Twin Cities.
Come find me, yeah.
Yes.
We'll link them in
Gather
our show
Twin
notes.
Cities.
That's right.
You're our number one.
I know. Cece, we didn't do it. This episode brought to you. I don't know if we had anything. Mumford & Sons. This episode is brought to you by Mumford & Sons. There you go. There it was.
Mumford & Sons. Love you, Marcus.
David Crowder? I don't know. Anyway. All right. Blessings, y'all. We'll catch you next episode.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Collective Voice, the premier podcast of the 787 Collective. For more information, visit us at 787collective.org or find us on social media. And if you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to subscribe, rate us, and share a review. For when you do, you're tricking the algorithm for the common good.